What if the choices you thought made you strong were the very things that could betray you in a single moment? Tonight, everything you trust may vanish in the blink of a shadow. Would you notice before it's gone? Is true strength found in knowing many paths, or in walking a single path with absolute clarity? Evening draped over the valley like a velvet curtain as Rowan moved along the narrow ridge. Every step careful, every breath deliberate. Knowing instinct had its own rhythm that no plan could replace. The wind whispered through the tall grass, carrying scents of rain and distant smoke, tugging at his cloak and whispering faint warnings that made his grey eyes flicker toward shadowed hollows. But each twist in the path felt alive, as if the ridge itself measured him, testing whether patience could withstand curiosity when danger pressed unseen from below. Elara leaned among her orchard trees, fingers brushing leaves that quivered in anticipation of the approaching storm. Amber eyes tracking unseen movements with calm precision honed over years of solitude. Her skin glowed faintly in the waning light, sun-kissed yet cool, her long auburn braid swinging gently with her movements. Beads tapping quietly as if keeping time with the rhythm of the world. Veyl arrived with the confidence of someone who knew the world only from maps and words, boots scuffing softly against moss-covered stones, silver-streaked black hair catching the fading sunlight in a deliberate display of elegance. Every syllable he spoke was polished, every plan articulated with precision. Yet each was layered over half-formed assumptions and impatience, betraying the fragility beneath his commanding posture. Rowan listened despite himself, feeling the magnetic pull of certainty even when instinct whispered caution, the satchel against his chest heavy with notes and a lingering sense of unfinished business. Ashen remained above them on the ridge, leaning on his carved staff, limping slightly yet moving with uncanny balance, blue eyes scanning the horizon where ridge met sky, aware of the stories waiting to unfold before any step was taken. He had seen men outsmarted by their own cleverness and women undone by their own patience. Experience had made his silence louder than any argument. A low, resonant horn broke the air, carrying a message Rowan could not yet read, but which made every muscle in his body tense like a drawn bowstring. Birds erupted from the orchard in a sudden panic, scattering in every direction, and Elara's eyes followed each movement. Measuring instinct against risk in an instant calculus of survival, Rowan's breath caught. The air between sound and understanding stretched like a frozen chord, a pause where decisions made all the difference between safety and peril. Veyl laughed lightly, his polished voice clashing with the tension, listing routes and contingencies, unaware that complexity itself could be deadly when time shrinks to a heartbeat. Ashen stepped forward, staff grounded, voice calm yet resonant, offering a single clear path forward that required no debate, no ceremony, only the courage to follow. Silence fell like fog as everyone processed the simplicity, and Rowan realized how often brilliance becomes a trap when noise overshadows clarity. He hesitated, torn between admiration for Veyl's ingenuity and instinctive trust in Ashen's grounded authority. Every second stretching into a lifetime. Another horn sounded, sharper now, vibrating through stone and earth alike, dissolving doubt into raw urgency. Elara moved first, her steps precise and silent, guiding Rowan along a twisting orchard trail where shadows and roots became allies in concealment. Veyl followed reluctantly, continuing to rearrange futures in his mind while the present closed around them like a narrowing tunnel. Branches scratched and clawed at cloaks and sleeves, turning the path into a living maze, forcing each traveler to choose balance over thought and instinct over cleverness. Rowan realized that no plan, no map, no skill could substitute for movement in moments where hesitation becomes a trap. Veyl stumbled, distracted by possibilities and paths never taken, polished boots slipping on slick moss as the ridge seemed to test his pride. Ashen remained deliberate, each footstep a measure of experience, each breath an echo of countless trials, unwavering even as chaos crept closer. The sound behind them grew into a roar, tangible and relentless, dissolving strategy into panic, forcing instinct to claim dominance over intellect. Elara halted suddenly, hand outstretched toward a hollow under twisted roots, a narrow refuge visible to only those who observed before acting. Rowan's pulse raced as he calculated seconds, measuring survival in heartbeats and inches, understanding that hesitation now would mean absence later. Veyl froze, lips parted, mind firing through unchosen possibilities, yet trapped by his own prideful indecision. Rowan felt clarity arrive unbidden, a cold certainty that sometimes survival favors action over reflection. Ashen nodded once, almost imperceptibly, signaling that the choice was made and that further debate was unnecessary. Rowan scaled the roots with practiced precision, each movement deliberate, every fingerhold a negotiation with gravity and consequence. Veyl lingered, indecision anchoring him as the shadow of danger approached with cruel inevitability. The horn cracked again, a violent reminder that time had ended and only action could answer the moment's demands. Ashen planted his staff, body rigid, presence a wall against encroaching chaos, proving that one steady choice can outweigh 100 clever ones. In that instant, simplicity revealed itself as power, and preparation became an invisible armor no cunning could penetrate. Time fractured, shadows surged past. And Rowan felt the world contract around decisions made and unmade alike, every heartbeat echoing through the valley. When silence finally returned, it was alien. Like hearing a language you half remember, leaving lungs and mind equally breathless. Rowan descended slowly, senses sharp, heart pounding in a mixture of guilt, relief, and hard-earned understanding. Elara emerged, scanning for signs of movement, each leaf and stone measured with a precision born of patient observation. Veyl was gone, his brilliance dissolved into absence, leaving only the echo of untested plans and unlearned lessons. Words arrived late, hesitant, because some truths speak in silence before humans can catch up with them. Ashen leaned on his staff, every scar, every limp a testament to past wisdom. His gaze settling on Rowan as if to pass the lesson without uttering it. Rowan recognized that survival is rarely about knowing many ways, but about walking the one clear path when all else fails. Elara returned to her orchard, trusting cycles over promises, letting quiet growth speak louder than rhetoric. The valley itself resumed its indifferent vigil, listening, waiting, unchanging. As if it had always known who would act and who would falter. Days passed, and Rowan carried the weight of the night with him, every step measured, every thought heavy with the memory of what could have been. He noticed how often brilliance is mistaken for survival, how cleverness without discipline becomes a trap dressed in applause. Ashen slipped back into the ridge paths, staff in hand, eyes ever watchful, a sentinel whose lessons were given silently, yet indelibly. Elara tended to her trees with meticulous care, noting how even twisted branches bore fruit, reminding her that imperfection has its own value. Elsewhere, other travelers argued endlessly over paths and strategies, oblivious to the valley's quiet truth that action often outweighs intention. Rowan wrote that night by firelight, ink bleeding across parchment, hands trembling not with fear but with recognition of what wisdom truly requires. He described the power of restraint, the weight of timing, and the quiet authority that moves when noise would distract and destroy. He left no names, only motions and moments, trusting that the story itself would carry the lesson to those ready to understand. Wind stirred the valley, brushing through leaves and across the ridge, carrying Rowan's words into corners unseen, unheard, yet felt. And the valley waited, patient, as it always does, for the next choice that would test clarity against chaos. Travelers spoke in hushed tones of a ridge where one path always led to safety, though few ever took it without learning the hard way. Some laughed, preferring the illusion of clever detours that seemed elegant but ended in missteps. Others listened quietly, sensing the subtle current beneath the stories, a whisper of preparation and patience that demanded attention. The orchard continued to bloom, indifferent to human perception. Each fruit a testament to time and care, rather than skill or vanity. The horns of that night were never heard again, but the silence that followed remembered them, etched in shadows and memory alike. Rowan aged, seasons layering lines upon his face, yet his hands remained steady and deliberate. The lessons of the ridge written into muscle and sinew. He taught those willing to watch and listen, not with speeches, but through measured action, showing that wisdom often moves without fanfare. When asked about Veyl, Rowan paused, letting the memory linger. Then spoke softly. He knew many paths, he said, but none fast enough for the moment that mattered. The words hung in the air, more powerful than any instruction, leaving listeners to wrestle with meaning themselves. Elara's orchard bore uneven fruit, twisted and straight, small and abundant. each a reminder that growth is neither uniform nor predictable, yet always vital. Ashen's staff, long since set aside, was found years later leaning exactly where he had stood. A silent testament to endurance and quiet guidance. The ridge path narrowed as years passed, natural wear and memory eroding the easy choices, leaving only clarity and courage as guides. And still, arguments continued about the best way forward, even as the valley held all answers in patient quiet. Rowan observed, understanding that life rarely rewards argument, but always observes action. Rowan eventually set down his pen, trusting that silence would finish what stories could not, letting the world interpret the lessons in its own time. Those who needed to understand already had. The rest would learn the hard way, just as they always do. Wind traced every ridge and orchard row, carrying memory, consequence, and the faint echo of horns long silenced. Shadows shifted over the paths, as if reminding travelers that every choice carries weight, and indecision is itself a path. Somewhere, someone delayed again, debating the right move, unaware that the valley had already decided for them. The orchard stood steadfast, a mosaic of growth and imperfection, a living testament to patience over performance. The ridge endured, its contours unchanged by pride or cleverness, marking the passage of time without judgment. Wisdom remained quietly present, unspoken, observed only by those who dared to see. Noise returned, ceaseless and impatient, yet beneath it all, the truth of restraint and clarity persisted. Patterns held, subtle and persistent, even as new travelers stumbled into old lessons. Rowan walked the ridge again, hands on satchel, eyes scanning not just for danger but for moments where action must replace thought. Elara pruned trees with gentle precision, noting how even small interventions ripple outward into unseen effects. Ashen, distant but present, watched quietly, every step and gesture a silent blueprint for those willing to follow. Veyl, absent, remained a cautionary memory of brilliance untested and untimely, a warning whispered on the wind. Rowan recorded details of light, shadow, sound, and movement. Each line dense with lived experience, a living map of wisdom under pressure. The valley grew quiet each night, a breathing entity that held stories, choices, and consequences like leaves in a vast canopy. Travelers came and went, some learning, some repeating old errors, their steps traced lightly upon the ancient paths. Rowan's journal expanded, a quiet chronicle of what matters when survival outweighs performance, action outweighs argument. The orchard yielded again, indifferent yet instructive. Every crooked branch and perfect fruit a lesson in patience, timing, and quiet understanding. And the valley waited still, eternal, indifferent to human cleverness, yet quietly rewarding those who move with clarity. Some truths arrive without fanfare, some lessons whisper instead of shout, and sometimes the only path forward is chosen not by brilliance, but by calm clarity. The valley listens, always patient, observing who acts and who hesitates. How will you move when the moment finally asks for more than thought?